Hello and welcome to this virtual session. We're glad you can join us today. Before we get started, there's a few housekeeping items we'd like to go over with you now. Firstly, you can resize the webinar windows to cater to your viewing preferences. You can maximize, minimize, and drag the windows to your preferred viewing size. If you look at the bottom middle of your screen, you can click on the widgets that you'll need to get the most out of this virtual experience. Secondly, Microsoft specialists are on hand to answer your questions in real time. So feel free to type in your questions using the Q&A window and we'll answer them as soon.
Sales process and ultimately converting an opportunity to an order, and all of the ways that Dynamics 365 can help with that process. Today, I want to pick up where we left off and look at what happens after your customers purchase a product or service. What happens if they need help resolving an issue? Or what if their order included a maintenance service plan? Today, we'll be looking at the customer service and field service modules inside of Dynamics 365. It might sound like a lot, but I'm going to handhold you through this. And I highly recommend that you leverage the learning path for this class. You can find it at aka.ms/MB-910. In Module 4, we are starting to look at what happens after your customers purchase a product or service. What happens if they need help resolving an issue, or if they need to activate their service plan? Let's dive into the details of Dynamics 365 customer service. In this module, across 2 lessons, we're going to be covering the introduction to Dynamics 365 customer service app, and then take a look at how this customer service app can enhance your team's capabilities to provide knowledge management capabilities and integration with related apps. Now, before we look at the customer service tools inside Dynamics, it is important that we understand what customer service is. Because in part 1, we looked at how you convince a customer to buy a product or a service. When it comes to customer service, it is the assistance or advice that you provide a customer based off the products and services that they purchased. And when we break it down, there are 4 main factors driving customer support. The first is time. Your customers don't want to spend all day on hold waiting for your response. They want quick answers. They also want to search for their own solutions when possible. For example, if it's something as simple as switching it off and on, they don't want to have to submit a ticket and wait for a call just to have that solution. So whether it is something like creating a knowledge base or a frequently asked questions page, customers want a little bit of self-service element in their support. And when a customer does need to contact your team, they want to do it in an easy fashion. Customers would much rather send a text or an email instead of having to call you on the phone. Having an omni-channel experience for your customers will allow your team to be more accessible and remove some of that stress from the interaction. And finally, customers' needs vary from industry to industry. The best customer service organizations use feedback. They collect this feedback from their customers to identify their needs and create personalized solutions for these customers. Organizations that excel at providing customer service usually have all 4 of these factors built into their process to create a customer service solution. And today we'll be looking at how Dynamics 365 customer service helps you and your team meet the needs of your customer by addressing these 4 factors, providing tools to help manage caseload, generate service-related activities, and find the best resolution to a customer's problem. Let's start with lesson number 1. Lesson 1, we're going to be exploring the basic functionality of the customer service app in Dynamics 365. And the first thing we're going to be understanding is the case lifecycle. And then we're going to start to describe service, including working with queues and case routing. And then we'll briefly cover entitlements and service level agreements. But let's first start with case lifecycle. It all starts with the customer raising an issue or a case. So in the past, customers were limited to a customer support line. But things have come a long way since then. People are not always happy to call in. Now, customers can still call in, but they also have the option to do something different. They can submit a case through a website, or choose to have a web chat, or via even text. And depending on how you set up these processes, cases can be created manually by an agent as the requests come in. Or you can have a case automatically be created when triggered from secondary applications. After a case is loaded into the system, it then needs to be routed to the agent best suited to help resolve it. However, the route can differ drastically from organization to organization. In fact, it can even differ from customer to customer in the same organization. So let's just start with the basics of routing. Let's say you have a customer who opens a case about product A. You can have that case automatically routed to an agent who is the best suited to answer questions about product A. And by doing so, you can streamline processes by ensuring qualified agents are working on the case. In this way, you get the quickest answers and the best answers. These routes can even be configured to support customer entitlements. Say, for example, you have a customer with a gold tier support, and that person calls in. When they open a case, since they are gold tiered, their case is automatically prioritized over other tiers, and immediately an agent can be directed to that. And because the goal when a case comes in is to resolve it in the most efficient manner possible, it is important that your agents are able to tell what cases they are working on currently, or if there are any product updates or changes. They also need to be able to easily access the knowledge base to find answers. And your customer service managers need to be able to check in on the workflow and follow up on any incidents as needed. And the dashboards inside of Dynamics 365 make it nice and easy to do all of that. When it comes to building out a workflow, there's a few things that you need to take into consideration. One is the timeline. What is your organization's standard when it comes to resolving cases? What's your KPI? Or what existing knowledge articles are available for people to refer to? Can this information be shared with customers to eliminate the need for a case? But if a case is created, what type of entitlements does that customer have? All of this is going to impact that process flow. Let's take a look at how that can be achieved in Dynamics 365. Jumping back into the portal, let's go again into our business apps, and this time we're going to be looking at customer service. So this is the customer service hub. Once you open up the app, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a case. So let's say your customers have some kind of issue, they want to get it handled. They have a warranty, or they have a contract with your company to solve any issues. They're going to open cases. And let's open one such new case. And these cases could be coming in by phone, it could be by email, or there could be some kind of a form that they fill up. And sometimes these cases have to be transferred manually to this portal. And that's what we're doing right now. For this case, we're going to say paper keeps getting ripped in the printer. So somebody is having issues with paper getting stuck in the printer. I'm going to say the customer is AdventureWorks Cycle. And the moment I click AdventureWorks Cycle, the card gets populated into the summary. So that's pretty cool. And then the origin, we're going to say they called by phone and they wanted to really solve this problem. And that's all there is to it. You can populate the other fields, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. So I'm going to save it, and you'll notice that the title changes to Paper Keeps Getting Ripped in the Printer. So having taken on this case, right now I have to start thinking about how to solve it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to move it from the identify stage to the research stage. So in the identify stage, I'm also going to locate the contact. And the contact that reached out to me was somebody called Aiden from AdventureWorks. I'm going to keep him as my contact. So he's the one I'm going to be interacting with. I'm going to be talking to him. I'm going to be asking him, hey, exactly what is the issue? What is the challenge? And finding out a little bit more. I'm going to move it from the identify to the research stage. You click next. And so you see that we have moved from the identify to the research stage. And you notice there's a tracker here. This one, it says below 1 minute. So there is going to be a tracker that tells you how long you've taken to handle the case. So at this point, we just created it, so we're responding very, very quickly. And right in the middle, you see over here in this column is the timeline. This timeline shows you all the list of activities that you've been handling. So the moment I received this case, perhaps I reached out to Aiden. So I can log a phone call with Aiden. I'm going to say phone call. The owner of this activity is myself, the mod administrator. I'm going to say reached out to Aiden to understand the problem. And then maybe I have details about his phone number that I got from somewhere else. And the description is Aiden says paper keeps getting stuck and ripped when auto duplex is active. And ripped. There we go. Just edit that error. And we spent 15 minutes on that phone call. He was explaining to me and I was getting the information. And we save and close this. And this activity is already done, so I'm going to mark it as a closed activity. I'm going to close the phone call. And now it's time for me to do the research. And the research is what would actually solve the problem. And how are we going to do this research? If you look right over here, there's this option for knowledge base. This knowledge base contains all the documents that are related to words that are perhaps in your case. So you see here, the printer is highlighted. So these are things that potentially could be answers to your solution. Because our customer service agents spend a lot of time searching for how to solve the problem. But if you're able to find something really, really quickly, with this search query, you found something that potentially could be linked. So if you open this article, you see this is the entire problem. So of course, a usual article might be a little bit more sophisticated than this, but it's just a simple article that I created. And we can go ahead and link this article to the case. So I'm going to link this article to the current record. So this is the current record that's open. The moment we link it, it's linked. I can go ahead and I can create another timeline record saying that I made a phone call to Aiden with an answer. So it's called Aiden and walked him through troubleshooting methods. And the description was printer problem was solved after checking alignment. And now we've solved the problem. Save and close. And I can close this activity, I can close the phone call, and we can now resolve this case. I need to indicate that this has been resolved using the knowledge article, and it indicates that it took 45 minutes to solve the problem and 45 minutes billable, and we resolve it. And in future, if anyone was to come and check this issue, paper keeps getting ripped, they'll see that it has been linked to this article, and they'll know that it was solved by using this knowledge article. And it saves time for future customer service agents who are facing similar issues. Now let's jump back into the lessons and carry on. As you can see, it is quite easy to create and manage the resolution of a case record using Dynamics 365 customer service. But it is also important to understand that there is more to it than just finding a solution to the problem. You want to make sure that you're meeting your contractual obligation when it comes to support. A support agreement typically entitles a customer to a specified amount of support over a specified period. For example, a customer might be entitled to, let's say, 10 hours of support over a 6-month period, or they may be able to open 15 cases related to a specific product. So let's put all this together and take a full business process approach. Let's say we have a customer named Nancy Anderson who works for a company called AdventureWorks. Nancy calls the central dispatcher to report an issue that they're having. And the dispatcher is now going to create a phone call activity in Dynamics 365 to log the issue. A customer support agent at your company opens that phone call and converts it into a new case in Dynamics 365. This is all part of the identify stage. Then the agent is going to move into the research stage. This is where our agent is researching and attempting to find a resolution. Let's say the agent spends about 30 minutes researching, and part of the time is looking up the issue in the knowledge articles. The agent takes the article and emails it to Nancy. The agent creates a task that describes what was done, how long it took, in this case it was 30 minutes, and what was the resolution. We then move into the resolve stage. The agent now calls Nancy back to make sure that the proposed solution works and spends 15 minutes with her on the phone. Nancy confirms, yeah, everything's running smoothly, I'm good. The agent then now can proceed to close the case. The total time for all the activities is rolled up to reflect how much time was spent on the issue, which adds up to about 45 minutes in this case. If AdventureWorks has an entitlement of 10 hours of customer support per month, this 45 minutes would be subtracted from that balance. Another way that organizations can measure success is through response and resolution times. These can be based off things like who is reporting the issue type, or different times based on a product type. For example, a customer who has a support agreement with your organization might be promised a faster response time than someone who does not have a support contract. Dynamics 365 has two different ways of tracking this. You can use a service level agreement, or SLA, or you can use entitlements. Service level agreements help to meet desired service levels when providing support to customers. Dynamics 365 SLAs allow you to track common KPIs, such as first response and resolution time for every case that is submitted. Whereas entitlements, they define specific support details that were promised to a customer. They include things like specified coverage dates, specified number of cases, or a length of time. So let's take a look at the screen and see how these two come together. In this scenario, we have a gold customer who is entitled to open 15 cases a year. They choose to open up a case through an email, and this case is automatically created. Since their service contract includes an SLA for the first response time to be within 15 minutes, it is routed immediately to the gold queue so that it can be picked up by an agent immediately. From there, we work through the case resolution process. This agent is now going to identify the issue, research it, and resolve it. After the case is resolved, the customer's entitlement is now reduced by 1 to 14 for the year. And that is the business process that follows with entitlements and SLAs. In this lesson, we saw the following things. We reviewed the different options available for creating and routing cases. We also had a look at the knowledge management capabilities available in Dynamics 365 Customer Service. And finally, we examined the case management options available to us in Dynamics 365 Customer Service. Moving on to the next lesson for this module, we're going to examine knowledge management and related apps. So Dynamics Customer Service is great for a lot of things. It's plenty of functionality, but sometimes it would benefit from being integrated with other tools. And Dynamics 365 Customer Service does have that ability to work with other tools to provide this flexibility to your organization based on how you support and service your customers. In Lesson 2, we will cover knowledge management, including creating and publishing knowledge-based articles. Next, we will discuss some additional apps that extend the functionality of Dynamics 365 Customer Service. The first of these is Omnichannel for Customer Service, which enables companies to communicate seamlessly with their customers across multiple communication channels. Finally, we will dive into historical analytics reports, which have AI-based analytical capabilities that help measure customer service activity. Below, we see an example of the default process that ships out of the box for creating and using knowledge articles in the Customer Service Hub. The process starts with an article that is created and marked for review. And a reviewer is going to evaluate the content in this article and decide whether it's appropriate, so they can either approve or reject the article. If the article is rejected, it is sent back to the original poster or the author for edits or updates, and the process repeats. This iteration of checking if it's fine repeats until it is ultimately approved. And if the reviewer were to approve the article, it is immediately published and available for consumption either on a company portal or from within Dynamics 365 interface, or on case records being worked on by agents to be able to resolve that case. It is also available in search and can be translated. After a knowledge article has been reviewed and approved, it is now ready to be published. Once published, the article becomes available for both internal and external users to consume when resolving cases or accessing it from a portal. This allows agents to share information in a much more centralized fashion, and it can help cut down on time that it takes to find a solution to a customer issue. And here's the thing, it is pretty easy to do, and your economies of scale of finding one solution, immense. All you have to do is write an article, submit it for review, and the moment it's approved, everyone benefits from being able to search for that article. Let me show you how easy it is in the system. We're coming back into the portal. Right now we're going to be creating a knowledge article. So for that, we need to go back into our Customer Service Hub under our office.com/apps. Inside the Customer Service Hub, again, on the left, you see the navigation pane. You can do all these things, all these different settings. What we're really focused on is the knowledge articles under the knowledge section. Under knowledge article, I already have an existing article, fixed time on printer, but you can also create new articles. And right now I don't have any templates, so I can't create any articles from a template. So I'm going to go back and manually create a new article. And for this new article, I have an issue that I constantly keep getting from my customers because they keep getting paper stuck. So they have troubleshoot stuck paper in printer. I'm just going to make it generic so that my customer service agents can find it when they need to solve this problem. So my research team has helped us to figure out how to solve this. And I'm giving them some keywords on how to bring up this article. So common ways that the customers could phrase this question would bring this article up. And I would also need a description, something like paper gets stuck. And we know that it usually gets stuck during the time they have auto duplex, double-sided printing. I'm not an expert on printers, but in this situation, we do have that as a troubleshooting method. And this will be the full knowledge article on how to solve this problem. So this will be a full description. But here I'm not going to type out the entire article. I'm just going to give a quick description. So how do we solve this? We're going to be asking check alignment of the printer head. Or another usual way that we solve engineering problems is try turning it off and on again. That always solves engineering problems. And worst case, if you can't fix it yourself, we will send down a technician. We will call the service agent down to your office to fix the problem. Of course, your article is going to be much more sophisticated than this, but right now we're just having a quick demonstration. And you can also format it as you like in HTML, but I'm just going to keep it as a simple text version. So I'm going to save this. And right now, it is still in the author stage. And author stage, it's still not ready for our service agent to use. I'm going to define a subject for this. It's going to be under help desk, because this is a very technical problem. And I'm going to mark it as ready for review. So now it has moved from one stage to the next. It is now ready for someone to review it. And I'm an administrator, so I'm actually able to approve it. Typically, you wouldn't do this kind of a process. Someone who's a technical expert should be the one approving it. So I'm going to approve it just to push it along and move it to the next stage, where we're going to publish this article to be ready for use by our customer service agents. And I'm not going to set an expiration date because I think this will be a problem that doesn't have an expiration date. And I'm going to mark as complete. It's without any product associations. And I'm going to click finish so that this is an article that is ready for use for our knowledge base. So no expiration date, and that's it. Publish. And now my knowledge article is ready to be used. So if we scrolled over to the side, we can see how many times it's been viewed or any type of modifications and how up to date it's been kept. So these are all the articles in my organization, and this allows customer service agents to be able to use this stuff without having to research it themselves or spend a lot of time, so they can get back to customers much quicker and increase their productivity. I can also use this article to build a customer service flow. So depending on the case that comes in from a customer, if they have any type of reference to missing, to their paper getting stuck in the printer, the knowledge article will allow customer service agents to get back to the customers really quickly without having to do any type of research on their own. As you can see, creating a knowledge article, it's a quick and easy process, and plenty of people benefit from this kind of article. Let's explore how it might be used along with other Dynamics 365 customer service components to manage and resolve cases. Now, another tool that you can leverage when it comes to servicing your customers is an omni-channel solution. This allows your customers to communicate with your organization in a way that best suits them. There are several Dynamics 365 features and additional products that work with functionality provided in Dynamics 365 customer service to expand its capabilities and provide more flexibility to organizations based on how they support and service their customers. I'll briefly just touch on two of them. Dynamics 365 Omnichannel for customer service allows agents to engage with multiple customers at one time across various channels such as chat, SMS, social media, and Microsoft Teams. Another interesting one is the Connected Customer Service. It's an IoT solution that works with IoT management applications to surface events related to the IoT devices defined in Dynamics 365. Once surfaced, the devices can be managed and interacted with directly from Dynamics 365 customer service. Since we know that customers are using text messages, social media, and web chats to communicate with organizations, and while providing customers with flexible support options makes it easier for them to raise support tickets, it can introduce new challenges for the support organization. The biggest challenge is being able to provide customers with a seamless and equally satisfying experience across multiple channels that they are using to contact support. And as customers contact you on different channels, it is important that your agents know what's happening on the other lines of communication so that your customer doesn't have to keep repeating themselves every time that they reach out to via a new medium or a new agent. Well, I have good news for you. With the Dynamics 365 Omni-Channel for customer service, your agents can interact with customers through different channels while still having the same insight to past interactions. Customer service historical analytics reports provides you with actionable insights on the customer service experience in your organization. It uses AI to show you topics that are generating the highest volume or are emerging topics. For example, agent. The agent dashboard shows charts and KPIs for individual agents and overall agent performance. Case topics is another component of historical analytics. The case topics dashboard shows a detailed breakdown of cases and their assigned topics. All of these will allow you to understand where your team is doing well in handling customers and where potential problems may be emerging so that you can tackle them early. In summary, in this past lesson, we reviewed how to use Omni-Channel for customer service while exploring what customer service workspace is and how it can benefit our organization. We reviewed capabilities of Dynamics 365 Customer Service Insights, a very powerful feature. And we also demonstrated how to use customer service scheduling. And finally, we explored remote device management with connected customer service. With that, we've come to the end of this module. We covered a whole load of things. Before I send you off for a break, let's do a quick recap of what we've just covered, shall we? In this module, we explored Dynamics 365 customer service. What are the standard customer service processes and how Dynamics 365 customer service addresses those processes? We described Dynamics 365 customer service capabilities, where we got to know the product a bit more intimately, understand the functionality and features. And then we reviewed Omnichannel, a very powerful feature for interacting with your customers across multiple channels. And we examined the customer service historical analytics reports, which is an AI analytics capability that allows you to draw insights and improve your way of dealing with customers. We have just one more module to go today before we are ready to take on the MB-910 exam. So hang in there. Before we start on the final module and discuss field services, let's take a 10-minute break to get some fresh air and come back refreshed for the final module. I'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you. Welcome back from the break. I don't know about you, but I just had my coffee and I'm refreshed and raring to go. Let's dive into the next module to cover the field service app in Dynamics 365. In Module 5, we want to provide organizations with the tools necessary to deliver on-site services to their customers and to manage their mobile workforce. Dynamics 365 Field Service provides tools that help organizations to manage their resources on the ground. Technicians, work orders, service assets, inventory, and billing. Dynamics 365 Field Service also helps equip technicians with what they need to increase their first-time fix rates. Let's dive into the details of Dynamics 365 Field Service. In this module, across 2 lessons, we're going to be exploring the Dynamics 365 Field Service app and then take a look at how the app can enhance your team's capability to deploy and manage resources. And we'll also look at a demo of a scheduling process in Lesson 2. Let's get started. Dynamics 365 Field Service provides organizations with the tools necessary to deliver on-site services to their customers and manage their mobile workforce. When it comes to creating work orders and scheduling and dispatching your technicians, Dynamics has everything you need to help your tech hit their KPIs. In the first lesson of the final module, we will focus on Dynamics 365 Field Service. And again, we start with an overview of Dynamics 365 Field Service and a process overview. This time, we will be creating a work order lifecycle. And then we'll finally spend some time understanding inspections as a service task. But you might be asking yourself, what is a field service? Well, it's pretty simple. It's any service that is being performed outside of your organization's facility. It normally looks something like a technician going to a customer's work site to install, repair, or do general maintenance on a piece of equipment. Another way to think of field service is a mobile workforce management. A mobile workforce needs to be scheduled and dispatched to provide services to customers. Like all of our other modules, I want to make sure that you understand the common terminology when it comes to field services. Remember, this is important when it comes to preparing for the examination. So let's start with field technicians. These are the folks who are actually performing the work out in the field for your customers. And the work they're doing is usually defined in the work order. The work order includes all the details like the service, the customers, and anything else that pertains to the service. A customer asset is the equipment that is being serviced. Let's say, for example, a customer purchased an AC unit from your organization. That AC unit now will be considered a customer asset. And when that asset has an open work order, a dispatcher or a scheduler is going to assign a field technician to the work order. But when a tech goes out to a customer's site, the goal is to finish or fix the work order in a single visit. This is what we refer to as the first-time fix rate, and is often a major key performance indicator for your techs. The last few terms here all refer to the time that it takes for your tech to arrive at the job and complete the work order. ETA is when they are expected to arrive, and that might vary if they are dispatched in a truck. And if the tech needs to go out for additional supplies or equipment for the work order, that is considered windshield time. This isn't something that you want to have a lot of, since you want to send your tech out with everything they need the first time. When a work order is created, it generally includes information such as who the work is for, the type of work to be performed, timeframes, products and services to be delivered, tasks that need to be done, and plenty more things. How and when organizations create work orders depends on multiple factors, such as their service model, procedures, technology being used. Dynamics 365 Field Service supports the creation of work orders in many ways, like after a sale is completed or when a customer submits a schedule request. Each work order will have a status that defines the current state of the work order. The status lets us know where the work order is in its lifecycle process. As the work order goes through its lifecycle, the status will be changed on the work order record. First, we have the work order creation on the left. This usually comes from a case or an opportunity. The work order status will show as open, but as we move into the scheduling phase, this is where your dispatch team can assign technicians to the work order. The status will then be updated to scheduled. The tech is then alerted that they've been assigned to a work order. They then have the choice to accept or to deny the work order. And once they accept the work order, the system will notify the other involved parties. Once the tech arrives at the customer's location, they'll note it in the system so that the status updates to in progress. And when the tech performs and completes the service, they'll update the work order through the field service mobile app. The work order status will then be updated from in progress to completed. Depending on your organization's procedures, a supervisor may be needed to sign off on the work order to ensure that it's completed. After they sign off on the work order, the status will be updated to closed, and any invoices or inventory adjustments can then be made. That is the full life cycle of a work order. Let's see that in action in Dynamics 365, shall we? So we're back into the portal in the Office apps, and this time we're going into the Field Service app to create work orders. Inside the Field Service app, on the left in the navigation pane, you can see under Scheduling, you see Work Orders. This is how you will be able to log any issues that your customers are having. So right now we see we have about 19 issues which have been unscheduled. Unscheduled meaning that there's been no technician that's been deployed to solve that issue. So I'm going to create a new work order. And this new work order, let's say it comes in from a service account from AdventureWorks Cycles. AdventureWorks Cycles. So immediately the moment I click service account, the billing account is auto-populated. And I'm going to indicate that they wanted a window repair, they've got a damaged window, and they're going to be billed according to the price list in US bill rates. And that's pretty much all there is to create for the new work order. There are the other fields, you can populate them, but I'm not going to this time. And that's pretty much it. And that is a new work order. And at this stage, you see that the system status is unscheduled. So for that, we need to deploy someone to fix the issue. And I will show you how to do that in the next demo. So let's get back to our lesson and I'll see you back in the portal in a while. As you can see, work orders can be easily created and the details populated based on the different triggering scenarios. But let's discuss a little bit more about the details of some of these work orders. Now, instead of a full incident, you can also create a more lightweight, templated incident called inspection. Like I mentioned earlier, service tasks can be added to a work order to act as a to-do list to provide guidance to the technician. For example, if I am conducting a site survey, I might have a task on the work order called perform fire safety inspection. That could have a duration of about 30 minutes or so. During that inspection, I need to look for the fire extinguisher in the room, make sure that it's accessible. I'll check that it's not expired and that it hasn't been tampered with. After all that is done, I can mark the inspection as completed. And I want you to think of that inspection like a digital form that your technicians are filling out on the field. Some of the questions can include safety protocols, pass and fail tests for a customer asset, an interview with a customer, or other audits and assessments. They can be performed before, during, or after a work order. And since your technicians may not always have internet access, they can fill these out offline and then can sync them when they have internet access. And if the management team wants to push out an update, simple click of a button, and the updates will be sent out and adjusted to each customer's asset. Throughout this lesson, we examined the typical life cycle of a work order. We saw all the different stages that a work order goes through. We reviewed the information that is being defined on a work order. We explored how work orders can be created on the Dynamics 365 app, all the fields that you could populate. We examined how incident types are used in the field service. And we also had a brief introduction to the concept of inspections and how they can be used when executing a work order. That is the end of lesson 1. Moving on to lesson 2, we'll be looking at describing the scheduling process. In the second lesson of this module, we will start discussing Dynamics 365 field service scheduling capabilities. And then we'll start to understand resource scheduling optimization. Next, we will discuss asset management and provide an understanding of customer assets. Finally, we'll wrap up this lesson by talking about connected field service and how we can extend support from a break-fix model to a proactive maintenance of IoT devices. Let's get started. As you can see, the work order management capabilities of Dynamics 365 Field Service provides organizations with the flexibility they need to meet their organizational requirements. But now I want to spend some time discussing the tools that are available to your scheduling team. Because while your technicians are out in the field, it's your scheduling team who is holding down the fort, making sure everything is running smoothly behind the scenes. Dynamics 365 Field Service can help organizations effectively manage the scheduling for their mobile workforce and ensure that all customers are provided quality service provided by qualified technicians. And it is incredibly important that your system has the right tools for your dispatch team, because they need to be able to see if a work order is actually ready to be scheduled. Just because a work order was created does not always mean it is ready to be scheduled. Maybe you're waiting on the parts to come in before the work can be completed. Remember, the goal is to have just one visit for your techs and to fix the problem. Speaking of technicians, are you able to see what tools they'll need to complete the job, or who is best suited or capable to carry out the job? Because they may need a certain skill set or a certain certification or a qualification, or someone who can work around the customer's schedule. While there are so many different things that can go into the scheduling process, Dynamics 365 for Field Service can help you dispatch the right technician to the right job with the right tools. Now, when it comes to scheduling, you're going to hear the term resources. And resources come in a few different forms. A resource could be a person, a piece of equipment, or a facility that can be scheduled to work on an item. When it comes to scheduling resources, you're going to schedule both resource roles and resource skills. A resource role, for example, can be something like a developer or a technician. This makes it so you can indicate only certain roles can be scheduled for the work order. So if a senior technician is required, only a senior technician can be and should be scheduled. When it comes to resource skills, sometimes a job may require a certain level of building access, or may in some cases security clearance is needed. Your technicians will likely have more than one skill assigned to them based off any certifications or qualifications that they may have. And as you can tell, there's a lot more that goes into scheduling than simply seeing who's free at that time. Dispatchers typically need a lot of information at their disposal. Depending on the organization's size, a dispatcher can be scheduling anywhere from 20 to hundreds of potential resources daily. And many things can occur throughout the day that can impact scheduling. Maybe there's an emergency work order that takes priority, or if a technician calls sick. These things happen. Technicians need to roll with the punches and be able to make these schedule changes as quickly as possible. The schedule board assists your dispatchers to better understand this information. Dispatchers can see in real time what is scheduled, including the resources assigned, times, and current status. In addition, they can see what needs to be scheduled and the availability of resources such as people, facilities, and equipment. There are a number of different ways that you can schedule a resource for a work order. We'll take a look at one of them during the demo a little later on. Now, let's examine how resource scheduling optimization can be used to both automate and optimize scheduling. Resource scheduling optimization, or RSO, is an add-on capability for the Dynamics 365 for field service. It allows your organization to automatically schedule work orders for the best resource. Your schedulers can optimize bookings to minimize travel time, maximize working hours, and schedule the most qualified technician, and many more. For example, your organizations that may have a policy to schedule high priorities items as soon as possible because they might be generally associated with contract customers or emergency situations. It could also be a situation where non-high priority work orders have a little bit more flexibility. You can set up an intraday schedule that perhaps runs every 30 minutes throughout the day. And that could schedule any unscheduled high priority items. And then there is a second schedule that runs every 2 hours and schedules all new unscheduled items. As the day goes on, your dispatchers can see any new items that have been scheduled on the schedule board. And they can choose to make any manual adjustments if they feel the need to do so. But this doesn't always have to be a manual process. You can use Power Automate to create a flow that can run any time a work order is flagged as an emergency. And then the application will schedule the emergency item for the most appropriate technician based on the defined criteria in the application. Let's take a look at one such demo in Dynamics 365. Picking up right where we left off, we are in the work orders. We created this work order for Adventure Works cycles. Once again, if you went into work orders, you see all this list. This is the one that we created. Remember, for Adventure Works, there's a window repair that's due. Let's go back in there. And since it's unscheduled, we need someone to fix the problem, to move it along to a stage of completion. We need to take care of our customers. And that's where we go to this option right here. We have to click on Book. And it brings up a pop-up window. And over here, you can indicate, you can filter for the various technicians and the availability that you like to get them for. So I'm going to go ahead and open this filters. So I'm going to search for the date that my technicians are available during the period that the customer requested. They said anytime between 8 and 5 p.m. on the 4th of April in 2025. And I have 2 technicians who are available during that period. I have Celine Jensen and Garrett Bono. So either one of them could be deployed for that. And this is a 2-hour job, so I can choose either of them. So I'm going to choose Garrett. And I'm going to create a booking for Garrett. So on the 4th of April 2025, I'm going to send him out on this task at 10 a.m. He's going to arrive there at 10 a.m. and end the job at 12 p.m. And that's it, simple as that. I can book Garrett. And now Garrett's schedule has been booked for that day. So I'm going to go back into the portal. So if I went back to the portal and clicked on the schedule board, I can see Garrett's current schedule. And Garrett's schedule, you can see over here, he's been booked from 10 to 12 p.m. And if closer to the date, if Garrett decides, oh, hey, I actually have something on that day, I have a doctor's appointment or something, you can simply drag and drop this schedule over to another one of his colleagues. And simple as that, now Celine has been booked for that same task to go over to Adventure Work cycles at the same time as Garrett. And so you can move your schedule around and you can view it graphically in this Gantt chart to see your technicians' availabilities. That's how you'll be able to navigate your work orders and deploy your technicians on the ground. Let's jump back and continue with the lecture as we were. You can see how easy it was to schedule items in Dynamics 365 Field Services using the different scheduling tools. Now let's talk a little bit about assets. An asset can be anything such as a large piece of manufacturing equipment, technology, an appliance, maybe an air conditioner. Many times, a customer asset will start as a product that is stored in a warehouse. And after that product has been delivered to the customer, it can automatically be converted into an asset. For example, after a technician completes a work order that includes the installation of a 3D printer, that 3D printer can now be automatically converted into a customer asset that can have work orders associated with it in the future. In a moment, I'll also show you how easy it is to create a customer asset. But I want to first discuss how you can keep track of customer assets without necessarily having to go on site. For that, we need to talk about Connected Field Service. Connected Field Service enables organizations to transform the way that they provide service. So instead of dispatching a technician whenever a product breaks to fix it, you can leverage an IoT connected service to monitor the assets and proactively predict a service model through the combination of IoT diagnostics, scheduling, asset maintenance, and the inventory on the same platform. And that's where Dynamics 365 Connected Field Service comes in. You can remotely monitor, manage, and maintain IoT devices directly from Dynamics 365 Field Service. The diagram on the right shows the Connected Field Services flow. First, an asset needs to be created. And then an IoT device record is created and registered to that asset. That IoT device will constantly monitor that asset and look for anomalies like temperature spikes because they could indicate failures. And if an anomaly is detected, an alert would immediately be sent to our Connected Field Service. And this alert is recognized as perhaps a firmware issue. And a Power Automate flow might be triggered to update the firmware to make an immediate fix. This makes it so that the device is updated remotely and no dispatch of our technicians is required, saving us time and money. And that's a good way to end off this lesson. In summary, throughout this lesson, we were introduced to the scheduling capabilities available in Dynamics 365 Field Service. We also saw how we can schedule qualified resources, the automate scheduling. And that also brings us to the end of this module. That's the end of module 5. And in this module, we explored Dynamics 365 Field Services. We saw what are the standard field service business processes and how Dynamics 365 Field Service application addresses those processes. We also took a look at how we could generate work orders in Dynamics 365 and deploy these work orders appropriately. And we described the scheduling capabilities of Dynamics 365 Field Service and examined the inventory management capabilities of the application. Finally, we reviewed the asset management capabilities of Dynamics 365 Field Service using IoT. And with that being said, we're at the end of our module, at the end of our session, some useful information that will be helpful back in your daily job. Sign up for the MB-910 examination. It covers all of the same information that we've already reviewed over the past 2 sessions. And since it's a fundamental course, you only really need to focus on identifying and describing the different components of the customer engagement apps inside of Dynamics 365. In my opinion, between this course and the learning path at aka.ms/MB910, you have everything that you need to successfully pass the examination. As for the exam itself, you can expect right around 40 to 50 questions, give or take a few. And in order to pass, you'll need a score of a minimum of 700 out of 1,000. There is no negative marking and you do not lose points for incorrect answers. So try and answer every single question. You'll have 45 minutes to take the examination, so you don't really have to rush through. There are no labs on the exam and all of the questions will be focused around the concepts discussed. You might see multiple choice questions, true or false, matching, fill in the blanks from a word bank, and everything will be pretty high level since this is a fundamental examination. and you won't be seeing any open-ended questions. I think that's pretty much everything that you need to know for the exam. Again, review any areas that you might be unsure about using the learning path at aka.ms/MB-910. And make sure that you share that shiny new badge on LinkedIn once you pass your exam. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us for this session. Good luck on your exam if you're planning on taking it, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating a new badge or see you in another class real soon. Bye everyone.